That actually brings me to my next question is, how did you guys go about selecting the lenses and what lenses did you select?
So I dropped a line to a friend of mine that he was over at Vitek. And Vitek, they have a lot of different support products, and we ended up working with a lot of products from Vitek. We had O'Connor for camera support, matte boxes, follow focus, rigs, and tripods.
Yeah, I think just top to bottom, all the rigs,
Yeah,
by Vitek.
we had some wooden camera stuff too.
Yeah, yeah.
And my friend at Vitek said, you really should talk to my friend over at Leica, because I think that this project might really interest him. So I did. And so my friend at Leica, he was familiar with I went into the Leica store where they're down here in LA on Beverly, where they're based. And we had a meeting, and I said, this is what's going on. This is really happening. We're fully funded, blah, blah, blah. And it really piqued his interest because these are, we're talking about the CW SonderOptic, the Summicron C line of cinema lenses, PL mount, and they're Super 35, for the Super 35 sensor. And to Seth over at Leica, it was very interesting to him that the idea of taking this new technology, this new camera, with a sensor that is capable of so much, and it was really interesting to him to pair that sensor within this camera with what is some of undoubtedly the best cinema glass available, and see what happens. It was really kind of almost like a hypothesis for him. What would happen if we took our fantastic glass and put it on this new camera that is kind of transformative in at this low price, very accessible level of cameras that are capable of moving pictures.
And I think that's actually an important thing. When we launched the E-mount series, one of the benefits of the E-mount series is being able to adapt any lens. We launched it obviously with native E-mount glass, but we also launched it with adapters that would take our A-mount glass that we have, that was traditionally designed for APS-C and full frame. Originally it was designed for film cameras, and now it's, they had been put onto full frame digital cameras. That being said, you can put practically any lens onto this camera. Everything from full frame lenses from other manufacturers, CNN companies, and down to PL glass and cinema lenses. So it makes it, widely accessible and available, and obviously looking at something that, at any level you can really get into using the camera with different lenses. And we're glad we saw it with these, because I think the result is pretty stunning.
I mean, I think one thing that Seth said is that it was really interesting to him to take a camera that was $3,200 retail and put it on and mount a $19,000 lens to it, and see what that sensor is capable of. And I think that, we can agree that it looks really good.
So moving on to the rest of the camera setup, we already touched on a couple of things, right? So we have the A7R Mark II, full frame camera, but shooting in Super 35 mode with Leica lenses. And then you've utilizing the Adamus Shogun. Could you tell us a little bit more, having a look at this rig, what else we have set up on this?
So we went out from this A7R II to the Shogun recorders to do the 4K at ProRes. And then, we had the wooden camera, cage, O'Connor, shoulder mount, and that was kind of like our base to kind of go from sticks to handheld, and, the matte box, follow focus, and the rest of it,
We had the wooden camera V-mount battery plates.
Yes, so that we could power the camera for longer than all the accessories, just all together as a piece. And so we went from sticks, we did handheld work, also stripped everything down, and sometimes used the Ronin, the Dana Dolly.
I love the shot here with the stuck to a car window.
Yes, yeah, on one suction cup, just because the camera is so light, so it was very versatile and allowed us to do a lot of things, in rigging and everything else on there.
And this one's great. Tell us about the, what is that, football at the bottom? Is that football mount?
Yeah, actually, I wanted the soccer ball in the background there, but
I don't know if you can see this
I'm
with
in
the screen
Texas,
being washed
so there's all
out, but
football stuff.
yeah.
But for handheld kind of simulated work on a tripod to save my shoulder.
And then, obviously using it on the Ronin for handheld shots. So the camera, you literally put it through its paces through practically, every kind of situation that you would have. Here's Bongani with the dolly. So, yep. All right. So, Bongani, how was it utilizing the camera? I mean, give us a little bit of insight. What other cameras have you worked with on set? How does working with a camera that is so small and so light but yet so powerful? What are you giving up and what are you gaining?
I think I've worked with Red, Alexa, the other Sony line of cameras and Canons, and the whole line, and for our budget to get a camera with this much dynamic range, and I absolutely love like the Sony kind of color science and their kind of skin tones and what you get from it right on the camera. And so it was nice to have this camera because it allowed us to be so flexible in keeping everything small and light and moving quickly. We shot the film in 15 days, and so speed and that versatility, I think, was paramount. And just being able to get that good of an image, going to the recorder, I think, was valuable. A lot of times on indie kind of films, you can't control everything, and so having that range to kind of keep skies or look out of windows and still light and kind of get all that together was fantastic, which is good.
All right, so I'm going to move on. We asked Johnathan what the workflow was, and he's got a bit of a video, so we're going to roll video again.
We shot this film in 15 days, which is quite quick, so, a couple of things have to happen. The camera, the camera department has to feel very comfortable with what they're shooting. You have to be able to take that footage and quickly convert it. And in our case, of course, we're shooting on ProRes, and our dailies then were converted each night to 422 LT files right on set. And that's ultimately what we edited to on Premiere, and then went back and did our 4K assembly with the original files.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your workflow on set. And I saw this picture and I thought this was pretty cool. Tell us what's happening here, Jeff.